Hi folks, welcome to another episode of My Life with Robert Burns. Jim Thompson and Douglas Mackenzie here again to talk about another of our cronies from around the Burns world. Hi Jim, how are you getting on?
Doing great now, Douglas. I've got this machine working. I'm fine.
Good. It's been a wee while since we published one of these podcasts, but rest assured we've been talking to many people on our contact list about scheduling some future episodes. Everyone's been busy during the Burns supper season, so we thought it wouldn't do any harm to take a wee break. So if social media is anything to go by, there's been lots and lots of stuff going on in the Burns world this year. It certainly seems to have been a very busy year. I hope you enjoyed anything that you managed to get to. You may have noticed that when I did the introduction, I said that we would talk about one of our cronies as opposed to one of our Burns cronies. We're delighted that we managed to convert some more videos from the Jimmy Gibson collection. Jimmy had the foresight many years ago to record several people in the Burns world. And although the technology was different then, we're managing to get it converted into modern technology. So cronies everywhere, we're delighted to introduce to you the Willie Morrison interviews. Jim, you were a great friend of Willie Morrison's. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Well, Willie was a very unique individual, a lovely man. He was born in Galston, but all the time I knew him, he lived in New Mills. He married a local lassie, and they never, unfortunately, had any children. But she had two nieces, and the nieces were close to the family right to the end. In fact, I got a phone call from one of them after Willie died to go up and help clear out the house so that there was nothing of Burns wealth, if you like, because he had lots of Burns books and other articles and things like that, Douglas, in his house. And fortunately, we managed to get quite a lot of them, and they're now in the World Federation Learning Centre in Kilmarnock here. A great deposit, I've got to say, in terms of books that weren't already in the Learning Centre. But Willie was, I was actually quite jealous of Willie because he was the only man that was a member of Irvine Lassie's Burns Club. And he was an honorary member, and he rubbed that in my nose every time we spoke. Joe Kennedy and I used to go up when he was later on, when he was in care, to give his wife, his loving wife, some respite. Joe and I would go up to to the home he was in and sit with him, and he would entertain us well into his 80s as well, entertain us. And Joe would just mention a poem or a song, anything Burns, and Willie would recite it, or he would ask him for a story, and he would give us a story. Now, I don't want to waste any of the stories because I'm quite sure that the things we're going to see coming in, Willie's going to tell some of those stories. One in particular, which I'll probably mention later on. But Willie was a genuine character, a man of great distinction, a very able individual who lived a life that can only be envied, to be honest. He was a hard-working man, and he was just a genuine gentleman. And when I say gentleman, I mean it in every sense of the word. And I once said to him, you're a gentleman, Willie, long may your tribe prosper, because he just was a really nice individual. And if you didn't know him, I've got to say, anybody who didn't know him has lost. I was fortunate enough to be taken under his wing at various stages when I first entered that sort of movement that we have in Ayrshire in terms of Burns. And he was always encouraging, he was always positive, and every time he performed, he thought he'd made a mistake or something, and he was always perfect. it was wonderful to listen to, and I'm quite sure the people who are watching this will understand exactly what I mean once they've heard them speak.
Thanks, Jim. So, cronies, let's hear the first of the Willie Morrison interviews. On this occasion, which is from 1999, when Willie, I think, was 77, he's interviewed by Joe Kennedy. And you remember Joe because he was featured in episode 108. So, enjoy.
And we're here tonight in New Mills, Ayrshire, where I'm going to be having a wee blether with an icon of the Burns movement, a man who has a great knowledge and a great love of the works of our national bard, and a man who has a wealth of witty stories and a great, great character, the one and only Willie Morrison. Willie, it's nice to see you looking so well.
Well, thank you, Joe. I wish I was feeling as well.
Well, you're looking well anyway. You're 77 years old, am I correct?
That's right.
That?
I was born in 1922.
Well, 77 Sunset Strip.
That's right. Aye. And I wrote that to a company there. They were asking about my age and things. And I said, Sunset Strip new, 77.
Well, you certainly look full of sunshine anyway.
Good.
Can I take you back originally? You're not from New Mills, Willie. I believe you're originally a Goston man.
Oh, I Goston.
Goston.
Aye.
Tell me a wee bit about your early life and your childhood in Goston.
Oh, well, I was brought up in the Miners' Row in John Street. It's no longer there, but it was just across the water for Loudon Pit, and that's where the most of the folk. It was really a Miners' Row, and that was where most of the men worked out in Loudon. I used to hear my father saying, he says, I've been working in a place, he says, and it was in below the River Irvine, and he says, you could hear the boulders rattling down the bed of the river. He says, while we were working. So that's the kind of thing. And as a boy, we all played about the place, and we used to go across, and there was steps across the River Irvine then, and we used to go across, and of course it was a thing that all wee boys and the lasses know, didn't it? And we've got the miners coming up out after shift, and their peace boxes, and you was crying, "When he pit chucks her," and maybe you got a snice, you maybe got a cake, kind of a cake that they didn't bother eating, and they was the kind of things that we enjoyed. And in that row, where I was brought up, at that time there was nobody had any gramophone or anything like that, but Jordan Nimble was the only buddy that had a gramophone, and it was the one came. His master's voice with a big,
you wound it up.
You wound it up, and if you sat and kept kind of quiet, Geordie let you wind up the gramophone, and that was really a thing to look forward to, because that was there was nobody had wireless.
No,
nobody had wireless.
Simple entertainment.
It was simple entertainment, and that was really a great night to look forward to, up to Jordan Nimitz. Jordan went away to England.
And of course your mother's name was Mary.
Oh, my mother's name was Mary Morrison.
She was Mary Morrison.
She was Mary Morrison.
That was a lovely song. So you hadn't much option about getting involved with that.
No, that's true. I'll tell you a story of the new. Well, Charlie Kennedy was coming through here one day last year, and he said, by the way, he says, I'll no need anything. He says, we usually come in and get a bite. He says, but we'll have a lunch, he says, because I've got a Japanese girl coming with me. I said, well, Si, you've come in here all the time, coming by, Charlie, saying if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for Japanese. So he brought her in, and she was an awful nice lassie. And Charlie says, come on, he says, you was going to do it. And you ken that lassie stood up in the front room through there and sang Mary Morrison.
Did she really? She did she really?
It was all fantastic. It was great.
Oh, it would be that.
And she was a nice singer.
Was she?
Was she a nice person too. But I'll tell you more about Toshio.
All the way from Japan and
all the way from Japan and sung Mary Morrison.
It's the power of words, what?
Isn't that?
You have a story?
That's the thing.
You have a story about Toshio Amber?
About Toshio? Aye. Toshio Amber, he was a professor in Japan. And this lassie that was with Toshio at Ken in Japan, she had studied under Toshio, and I didn't ken that.
Yeah.
And I told her, I says, I've got a Burns Chronicle there, and it's Tosia and Amba taken with 4 girls. And I went up and I got that book, the Chronicle, and I read it. She says, that's me there.
Oh, Willie.
And
That's the same girl that was in.
That was 1978, that was 20 years ago.
That was the same girl that
And
arrived.
that's her there, and that's her there.
That's the same girl that came in.
It's the same girl.
Yeah.
That's her. And she studied under Toshio.
Oh,
And her name is Yasuko Izuno.
Well, I'll not try and say it.
No, hardly. But is that not strange?
There's some
But that's her taken along with Toshio.
And then you
Now, see, that's the 1972 Chronicle. And there was another year, I think it's the 1970, and the 1972, and that's 78. 72 Chronicle, Toshio Namba's in there as well. Now, Toshio Namba come to Irvine, and he was giving a talk at Irvine Burns Club. I think it was Irvine Lassies that invited him to talk. And I was desperate because I'd met him in the 1973 conference, I think it was, that was at Dumfries, and Toshio Namba was there. And a wee humble man.
Was it really?
Oh, absolute marvellous. Oh, Joe, if you'd ever met Toshio Namba, you'd love the man. He was as humble as could be.
Did you get speaking to him?
Aye, he was a good speaker.
Did you get speaking to him?
Oh, I was speaking to him. Aye. In fact, John Ingalls was sitting in the bus when we were going up to Dumfries, and we were going by Ballochmyle, and John says, can you sing anything of the Cotran Woods? I said, I can sing a wee bit. So I started and I sung it, and Toshio's sitting, and he looked. He sketched me and put that down below. John says, whenever he goes back to Japan, he says, he'll remember your face, he'll say, Minor, who sung that song? And I just sung 20 lines of that.
What a lovely story.
It's lovely. Aye.
With the lassie in the house.
Just with the lassie in the house. But as I was saying...
Was it, did you meet him after you had met this girl? After this girl had been in the house, was that?
No, I met Toshio a long while ago. Aye. When I'd never, that was the first time, last year was the first time I'd met Isugo. But that was the story that she had studied under Toshio Namba, and that was 4 girls. And I told her, sorry about this book. Now the thing about it was, that night I went down to Irvine Burns Club, and I took 2 chronicles with me. And I said to Toshio Namba, I says, I wonder, says, if you would autograph my chronicles, and he signed his name along the bottom, and he signed his name along the bottom. He wrote something else on it, I can't just mind exactly what it was. But when this lassie came, I says, you knew Toshio Namba? She says, I studied under Toshio Namba. I said, well, I'll show you something, so you'll never believe it. And I brought down the 2 books. And there was Toshio Namba, she said, that's his signature.
I bet that made a visit to her.
So I says, well, says I, when I depart this life, say, the family that I have, or the relations that I have, say, they'll maybe burn the books along with me. If I'm getting cremated, they'll maybe burn the books along with me. I says, say, you'll take they, and they're gifted by me to you.
They're rented?
Aye, and they're yours forever.
Once you took them away?
She was thrilled to bits. Well, that was on the Saturday. On the Sunday, she was going to Irvine to see the Irvine Burns Club.
Wellwood,
Aye, Wellwood. She was going the Sunday, and David Smith, of course, was conducting her round about it.
Another great character.
Aye. And she said, I've got something to show you. And she had the 2 books, and David come on to the phone to me, he says, this last year, this look, you'd give her £1,000.
Oh, I bet she did that.
Aye. So she was that proud of them. He says, that was how kind of you to do that. I says, well, I just feel that was the right thing to do, Davy. And there's the 2 books. Davy got through the museum, Ken. This is there a couple of duplicates there. You give me them?
To get them back,
And that's me, I've still got them. But I haven't got Toshio's.
Have you ever heard of her since? Is she still?
Aye, no, I've heard her, aye. It started sending me these photos. And it's all for a Christmas card and various cards for you.
I hope Toshio Namba asked you for your autograph.
No,
No,
no.
do you know? Oh, well, he should have done.
Ah, well,
He
but
should have
Tushy unfortunately is dead and gone now. Aye.
And your father was a great reciter of Burns Day, I've heard you say.
Oh, aye.
Well known in Goston.
I'm afraid
I heard you telling the story once about you coming home for the war. And,
Aye, that's right, aye.
and
He used to argue with my mother.
did he?
Aye.
With the rest of us.
But he never beat her once.
Oh, you never beat a woman, though?
No, no.
You never beat a
Oh, he
woman?
never beat my mother once until one day he says, I said, I'll beat you the day, Mary. He says, don't you forget, he says, I'm the head of this house. She says, that's Rick standing, don't you forget, I'm the neck. I turn the head whatever way I want. You'll hear that story before, but that's where it originated. Right? Well, this was it. I was in the south of France when the war finished, and I got sent back to Bradford for a course. They were needing clerks then, so we're sent back with this course at Bradford when the Japanese war finished, and we all got 2 24-hour passes. We didn't get it wasn't a 48-hour pass. It was 24 hours and then another 24 hours. It was a kind of strange thing. So the fellow was in charge of the stelters, he says, now he says, don't be trying to get into Leeds, he says, because you'll get picked up, he says, you can't get to Scotland. So we were in Civvy Digs, and it was a woman called Miss Sharman. I know she was a character. She used to sit up and play solo whist with us to 3 o'clock in the morning. Aye, the money off us and all. But this Miss Sharman, we went to her and we said, the only place for the train goes through the main line, Ken, only place that the train will stop, Ken, to Leeds. She says, there's a place called Keighley. She says, and if you go there, she says, you'll get on. Well, this Staff Sergeant Falker told us, he says, don't bother trying to get out, he says, here, he says, because you go to Leeds, as sure as running, you'll be picked up with the MPs. So we went on to the platform, and the first buddy was this fella, the Staff Sergeant for Falkirk, and he just laughed. Well, we'll come up, that was us. We got tickets, and I went up to Goston. My mother was locking out the door for me. She must have sensed that I would maybe come. So she was locking out the door, and here I came. So where's my father? Oh, she says, in the pub, he's celebrating. 2 sons in the soldiers, one in the Navy and one in the thing. He says, you can where he'll be.
This was the war finished?
That was the war finished. It was the Japanese, that was it. It was August 1945, I think it was. It was 1945 only, I think it was August that finished the Japanese war. And I went down to the cross, and it was mobbed. It was mobbed, absolutely mobbed. So here, they had said, come on, Sonny, up and say something, you can't kind of appropriate. And it was full of old. And they got him up onto the balcony at the Toons building, and he says, I'll recite you the poem as appropriate as is for the night, he says. I'll recite The Soldier's Return. Right, Sonny. On the front, near he was standing, and I was down at the bottom. When wild war's deadly blast was blown. Oh, blown. I says, and gentle peace returning. And gentle peace returning. With many a sweet babe fatherless, and many a winter morning. I left the lines in tented field. I left the lines in tented field. Blank again. A fella says, oh, I'm help him, say, we all know the boat on my head. I says, that's me finished. Say, you better get him down off of there. And so they did.
He would manage to finish it.
He
managed to finish it.
But that was the start of the Soldier's Return.
Yeah, even Burns celebrating the end of the war. He gets into everything, doesn't he?
Is he appropriate for that?
Certainly the Soldier's Return. It's a lovely poem to read. It's a lovely poem to read. Sometimes the people that make the war would sit and read it and maybe think twice.
Exactly.
Also another wee funny story you've told me many a times, Willie, about when the wee holiday you had in Switzerland.
Oh, aye.
And you come back through the customs.
Aye. That was in 1964. Well, with me being in the army, I had come through the customs 40 times. And Anne and I went away to Switzerland. Well, in the days there wasn't so much fleeing. We went away down to London and went to Victoria Coach Station and joined the coach there. And we discovered we were the only two Scots folk that were on that coach. And away we went across the channel on a boat and down through France, Germany and into Switzerland, Montreux, and we were there for a week, and then we travelled a couple of days coming back up. But of course, naturally, when you're there, you're going to buy wee presents for your folks. So my mother and Anne's mother, her aunties and my sisters, and we had 7 a day wee musical chalets, musical chalets. And all the folk that were there, they were saying, Ken, they made English, they're saying, I joke, when you get to the customs, it'll cost you a penny or two. I said, well, it just need to cost us a penny or two when we get to the customs. So Anne had got down to Kilmarnock before we went away and went to McConkey's. And that was the leather shop in Kilmarnock, down by the next to the Regal.
Sold the handbag, didn't they?
They sold the handbag. Aye. I've got the bag up the stair, I'll bring it down and we'll get it photograph you. And so I tell Dan, only thing that we need to pay duty on side, but they wee musical chalets go into that bag, and right in the top was a box of cigars for Franny, my father. Right, so all the folks said, aye Joe, cost you money. So I was okay, so come, and we were going to the customs, and there was no red doors and green doors in the days, it was just the regulations and you had to read them. And the man held them out, he says, read that. I said, I've read it before. He said, do you understand it? I said, perfectly. He said, now have you anything to declare? I says, well, I says, see that bag, sir, anything is dutiable, will be in that bag. So he opened the bag, and this box of cigars were sitting on the top. He says, how many cigars are in the box? I says, I think there's 14, but I'm not certain. Well, he went into his pocket and he had a pen knife, and he priced up, there was a wee spring holding down the lid, he priced up this lid. And while he's pricing up that, he says, by the way, he says, where did you get that bag? I says, we got it in Scotland. He says, what part of Scotland do you come from? I says, Ayrshire. He says, Ardrossan. I says, no, Inland. He says, Mauchline. I said, no, Goston. And I was staying in New Orleans at the time, I've been 30 years. And he says, Goston. I says, Goston. He says, rising sun over Goston mears and never got another word out. I says, with glorious lick was glinting, the hares were hurtling down the furs, the lavrets they were chanting. He says, too sweet that day, and put 3 cruises and were cases, and that was us through.
That was you through the customs.
That was us through the customs.
But to the next time, that's you Scotland, you know?
We got back into that coach, and see the English folk, they weren't liking it.
No.
And I says, you've got a Shakespeare, and you haven't got a Burns that can get you through the customs. Aye. But I'll bring down that bag, and I'll show you.
I've heard that story.
And the strange thing about it is, and it was about, it must have been 3 years after that, and I opened that bag, and there's a wee silver clip. What's it doing? Well, I opened it up. Guess what's in below it?
What's that?
Swiss made.
Is it? The bag?
The bag. Aye. Swiss made. It's on the inside.
Yeah.
Aye.
As I say, you were born in a mining community. We were speaking to Phil Todd last week, Willie, and you got to, I've been up to Newcombe, Burns Club many a time, and I've been up in about Morrison. What do you think makes Burns so attractive to the mining community? He seems to have a great affinity with the miners.
Oh, aye, because I mean, the miners had a hard time, and a hard time, and that was the same as Burns. Burns had a hard time, and I think that's the way they would get all that. You can a miner houking in a shuck with dirty stains, big in a dyke, bearing a quarry and sick like, and sail away for those stains, and smite through wee dirty wains, and knock by his horn dork to keep him richt and ticht and thack and rape. And when they meet with their disasters like loss of health or want of masters, you may should think a wee touch longer, and they mun stare by cold and hunger. But who it comes, I never ken yet. They're mostly when are for contented, and birdly chills, and clever hizzies, our bread and sick away as this is. And that's what was the miners'
That's right.
day. They were bread like that.
I think that just typifies a mining cottage or a mining.
It does.
You can equate it to the quarter Saturday night as well.
But if you can bring it to your mind, you can touch on anything in Burns and you'll get something for every day.
His compassion and his voice of the underdog was.
And the heart all the time. The heart's in it all the time. And the beauties and all the pictures that Burns could.
It should always come for that.
It all comes from the heart, eh?
You said once before a famous quote of yours, which I believe is in print now, about Burns coming for the heart.
Oh, aye.
You said one
Aye.
night.
Aye, that's in that book, the Scottish Dictionary of Quotations. Aye. And that was a man that heard me on the wireless when Billy Kay come and interviewed Phil and May McHugh and all Alan Ramsey and all them. And made a good tape. I didn't think at the time when Billy come in here and started talking to me, I says, who's he going to make a tape about this? But see when he built it up, you've got it, Joe.
I'll tape it here.
Aye, is that.
There's money in it when I watch your bed and I'm sitting myself while I put that tape
Put it on.
put all money in it.
And it's good. Aye.
And the quote that impressed this man was, you were talking about Burns coming for the heart.
That's what I said. And that's what he wanted to print and get my permission to print it. I said, you can't recite Burns for your head. No. You must recite Burns for your heart through your head. And this was he quoted it when it come to ken the epistle to the Prague. The hair ties and the pear tie that Max Richter ran. My muse though hamely and attire, me touch the hair tie.
Certainly his touch with him. And it's in the book of Scottish Quotations, was it?
Aye, that big
we saw earlier there.
Aye, it's there. Aye, the Scottish Quotations, is it? The Dictionary of Scottish Quotations, that's it.
Oh,
and I didn't ken about that. Now that man asked me for permission, was it Robertson you called him, I think it was. Robertson. And that man asked me for permission to print that, which he did do. And I didn't think anything about it, whether he was going to publish it or no. And I didn't ken anything about it until I met Charlie McGorran one day. Aye. And Charlie says, hey, he says, Mum would give me a book for my Christmas. He says, and there a quote for you in it. I says, there a what? He says, there a quote for you. I said, what is it? And he told me what it was. I says, that man printed that. So well, I'll tell you something, Charlie. So I printed that, so he never even told me that the book had been printed.
How did you get the copy? Did you even send you?
No.
I might send you a copy.
Nothing.
Did you get the copy yourself?
Never got another word. He sent a letter thanking me for the permission to print what I had said, and I never had another word for that man.
I said to him I couldn't. Some great Galston characters you've met over the years, Willie. I heard you talking in the past about him called Ten Clark.
Aye, Ten Clark. Aye, well, that is Geordie Clark he called him. He come from Man's Close, as we came in Gosson. Well, Geordie, we'll call him his right name. Ten Clark, he just I got in Gosson, but Geordie was his name. And he got hold of my father. He had two daughters went away. He had three daughters actually went to Canada, but two went together, and one was married, and they went out. And there was one, Etta and Jean, and I forget the name of the other name, but Etta and Jean, they stayed together. And Jordan says, I'm marking up a Scotch tape, Sanny, he says, to send to my lasses. He says, I wonder if you would date Tam O'Shanter on it for me. Aye, he says, I'll do that for you, Jordan. So he says, when can I come up? He says, any time. He says, well, the morning's next day. Aye, he says, come up the morning's next. So Jordan comes up. And Kate, it was a great big recorder at that time. And Sanny's sitting, Tam O'Shanter went chatting, Billy's leave the street and right through it. So Jordan winds it back, played it, my father sat, listened to it. So what did you think of that, Sanny? He says, you ken what I'm going to tell you, Jordan? He says, that's the best Tam O'Shanter I ever heard in my life. He didn't get it was his tale.
Did they know it was his tale?
No. Aye. And I was speaking to a lassie last week, And she was talking about the two lasses because she's related to them and they're in Wisconsin. And she was out there for a holiday having her man. And she says, do you see the Scottish tape? She says, they lasses have still got it. And she says, they play them nearly every week.
I can believe it.
Aye.
I can believe it.
She says, they play the tapes every week.
Especially getting close to January, it'll get a fair old laying on then. I can believe it because as I say, that tape of yours, I've got it. You're following it. I play it regularly.
Oh, I fell in, I know Alan. Alan Ramsey was a character.
Great characters.
Aye.
How did you first, the Burns Suppers, can you remember your first first ever?
The minister in Goshen, and I didn't ken, it was Minister Alan Maxwell, who was the minister of the EU Congregational Church. And it was a church Burns supper, and I had never been to a Burns supper, and I got a ticket and I went to it. I was fairly impressed, and Ken, you just get off a keen on it after that. And I went to another Burns supper after that, and there was a man for the House Burns Club, and he was proposing a toast to the lasses. And I don't mind his name now at all, but it's a long, long while ago, 30 or 40 maybe a year ago. And it was the most rubbish I ever heard.
So you knew you could do that?
I says, well, if that's somebody doing a toast to the lasses, so I better get stuck in here. So if I could do a little better than that. Oh, he talked about it was a lassie that was a railway signaller.
Oh, that's just what happened.
During the war. She was during the war. And she was a signaller in the railway. And that was the whole thing was about that lassie.
Was it really? She was an interesting character.
Must have been.
During the war there was a lot of women in the signal boxes.
That's
Man
right.
the signal boxes during the war. And when did you first do your first toast to the lasses yourself? Do you remember that?
Aye.
You just get...
It was in New Mulls, I think it was about 1957 or something like that. And there was a great character here, one of the finest men, and Phil Todd could I tell you about this man too. Willie Deans, you called him. He was a great character. Willie was a conscientious objector during the First World War, but he was a real conscientious objector. Willie couldn't hurt a flea. And Willie Deans was doing today this toast to the lasses, and I think his wife died, and well, Willie couldn't do it. And I was in the church's men's club at that time, and they were at wit's end. They tried everywhere. So somebody says, could you not do it? I says, well, I tried it if you want to. So I came a lot about all the Burns lasses and that. So here Mr. Hewitt, the minister, he was a great Burns man. He was doing the immortal memory of that night at the dark table. And I got up and I started talking. And I had a wee kind of notion he came. I says, I'll need such courage here, so I think I'll listen to gin, and put it in and I think it's water.
Listen to what to my people.
Willie Morton was the chairman. He looked at the glass. He says, smell that. Ken, the way I was going on, there was battering on, Ken right out through it. And he held it over to Mr. Hewitt. He says, smell that and see if there's anything in there. It was just a good thing that I didn't put the gin in it. For Hewitt would have drunk it.
That was your first tune?
That was my first tune. That was my first attempt at it.
You must do. How many a year do you do? Come on, it must be.
Oh, well, I think that.
In your heyday?
30 odds.
30 odds, and that kind of tour, two-month period.
Aye, but I think the sear's stopped for some minute.
No, there's no stop. You're top of the list when folk up in the Burns Supper together. I ken I had you at 3. I was up a disappointed when it didn't go on.
That's
and you were
the...
you were the highlight of it.
They were great.
You were
they were great. Thanks to you.
Did you certainly were. The boys talk about it yet. Sadly I didn't get the numbers to keep that game going.
That's true.
And you're also your wee concert parties. My wife still talks shit about that last few months ago.
Oh, I know, we still do them. We didn't talk last week.
You always bring the Burns into them as well, don't you?
I usually bring Burns in. For I tell them about the one, it was the first time I'd been invited back to it. It was the West High Church, you can, down at the corner of High, what do you call the street?
Boy, you're just off of Bay Street. Yeah, no Bay Street.
No. Hull Street.
Hull Street. Hull Street, right.
Just down at the bottom of Hull Street. And I had mine that I had done a Burns nick for them. And they said, now how do you want to do this? do you want to go straight through because we've got a wee bit supper, we've got haggis pie with potato and turner on the top of it. And she says, do you want to go and just have your supper at the end? And we said, oh aye, that'll go all right. So it come to the end, ready for the supper. They had put the oven on at low and it went doot, and the pies were as cold as charity, and we got one each coming out the door wrapped up in a napkin.
Was it? So you go to the road home?
We go to the road home. We had to come home and heat it in the oven. And that was one of them. But good nicks, and I've had an awful lot of good church nicks. And
Burns supper. People you must have met over the years that you wouldn't have met other than...
That's right. Burns has done that for you.
I know in my short time the friends I've made, people that I've met that I would never have met but for Burns.
Oh no, they would not.
And I also believe, I was saying to Phil last week, I've always found in the Burns movement, as much as we have a wee fallouts here and there, I think there's something about Burns. I've never really met a bad Burns person. You know what I mean? I think it's because it's... you think it comes to Burns.
Because if you read Burns, you've got all the rules there.
That's right.
And you shouldn't go after the rules.
That's right.
You should try your best to keep to them. Because Burns, I mean, when he writes, is there a man whose judgment clear, can others teach the course to steer, yet runs himself life's mad career, wild as the wave, here, pause, and through the starting tear, surveyed as a grave. That's sad. The poor inhabitant below was quick to learn and wise to know, and keenly felt the friendly glow and softer flame, but thoughtless follies laid him low and stained his name. Reader, attend. Whether thy soul soars fancy's flight beyond the pole, or darkling grubs this earthly hole in low pursuit, know, prudent, cautious, self-control is wisdom's root. And there's the whole thing in 3 verses to Burns, and if you read they and try and abide by them, you can't get wrong.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about it. If you do read and get involved in the works of Burns, I certainly think it makes you a better person.
Oh aye, it builds into you, Aye.
It enriches your life.
I had at Nijmegen in Holland, Ken, the war was still on, but they were having a celebration in the officers' mess, and we're looking for waiters, Ken, to serve the stuff. So I was one of the ones that was picked, and went round and was served there, and they had made up the brandy sauce for the Christmas pudding and that. And boy, and there was an awful lot of it. There was more brandy than sauce, but an awful lot of it. And John Douglas and I we just sat and sucked it and sucked it. And we went round to the place where we were billeted, Mr. Kaiser's, and he was a lawyer, and we were as fools monkeys, and we had a great night with him. And you ken that man, Mr. Kaiser, I'll call him Mr. Kaiser because that's the title a lawyer gets, Mr. Mr. Kaiser. And he wasn't married at that time. He had a housekeeper called Tony Lilliveld. And that man gave me a book of Burns' poems. He went and he searched all the places in Holland that he could get, and he got a book, and it was the Tauchnitz edition, published in Leipzig in 1843.
Was it really?
Aye, and a mistake, I think it would be for Dr. James Curry, because I think he said that Burns was born on the 29th of January.
Well, he was the first in
he was the first. Well, that's what they had coke it off of, and that was in that. Now, Mr. Kaiser gave me that book, and he got it rebound, beautiful rebound book, and there was a lassie come across here, and she was the best maid to my nephew's wife, Ken. My nephew's wife was a Dutch lassie too, and this lassie come across, and she fell in love with Scotland, and she was a nurse, and you ken that lassie come back, and nursed in Ballochmyle for a year.
Did you?
And we went, our mother and father, when they were taking her back, and she had all her goods and all that, all her clothes and all that to go back, father came out of the car, and we had a wee night in Sornin. We had a meal there, and we went down to Ayr, and in Ayr Town Hall was a concert on that night, and Anne and Mr. Plum and Mrs. Plum and Oscar were all there, along with Anne and I. And there was a man come out, and you'll no guess what he sung. Cotter and Wits.
Cotter and Wits.
Farewell, farewell, sweet Ballochmyle. And that was her taking a farewell with Ballochmyle. Well, I said to that lassie, she's come several times, I says, Oscar, I says, that book is there, and when I'm not here, I don't know what happened to it, but I'd like it to go back to Holland, and I'll give it to you. And he wrote in the flyleaf, it says, this book is for Bill, the soldier who stayed in my house and who shall forever remain in my remembrance.
Oh, there you go.
It was absolutely marvellous.
And the girls got,
the
girls got that book.
Well, the war finished, and I went back on the first day of January into Mr. Kaiser's, and the war was, I don't know, the war wasn't by then. No, the war wasn't by, this was a prophecy. He writes in this book, this is the standard book of British and American verse, prefaced by Christopher Morley. To Bill, in friendly remembrance, on the first of the last war year. That was him in January 45, and the war finished in 45. And it's signed L. Kaiser, Antonia Lilleville. Antonia was his servant, was his housekeeper.
Hi folks, we hope you enjoyed that first interview. You may have noticed that Willie told a story that Billy Kay referred to in episode 115. And I'm sure Jim will tell us a bit more about that story.
Well, Willie used to use it as a party piece all the time. Just wonderful, wonderful story, and all true.
And he's such a great storyteller. And as you'll see in the second video that we've got here, which dates from 2010, where the interviewer is Jimmy Gibson. And I think if you do your maths, that probably means that Willie was about 87, 88 when he was doing that second interview. A great gentleman. So enjoy the second one.
Willie, it's great to be here with you again, and we always said we'll come back and have a wee chat about Burns, which is, I know, is a very favourite thing.
Yes.
So what have you been up to this year so far?
Pardon?
What have you been up to this year so far? What have you done?
Oh, nothing really much. In the Bachelors Club has been the main functions that I've been at. I think I can honestly say that, and the Number Nothing, the Largs Buns Club, I enjoyed there, and I enjoy the Irvine Lasses Burns Club. I think they're the best.
So you've cut down in the past year or so. You used to do 30 odd a year, was it? You did?
My health has done that, Jim. I dare say I could have got more if I had been pushing, but I haven't been pushing. I'm quite content because I've had a great past in the Burns movement, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. And people that I've met, people that I've become friendly with, and they're all very friendly with me and very kind to me.
So what would you say is the main thing that you've gained out of your life with Burns?
Hard to say. The fact that I've been able to portray Burns as he would have liked himself, I think that's the main thing. I like to live Burns. I like to feel what Burns intended when he wrote the various poems and songs that I have always enjoyed and enjoyed reciting.
Now you mentioned before the Bachelors Club. Now there's
Aye.
no finer place to be
Oh,
than the Bachelors Club with a bunch of your pals, you know,
Yeah.
who are all thinking the same thing. So do you enjoy the Bachelors Club?
oh, I enjoy the Bachelors Club very much, and it's the place that the man himself walked across that room that we sit in, and we enjoy listening to the various aspects that different persons come into that club.
Everybody's got something different to say, haven't
There's
they?
something
You know?
different to say.
Uh-huh.
They can't all sing, they can't all recite, but they can talk and they can... I'll tell you, if I mention a name, somebody that has come right up, and I've enjoyed him, is Ian McVeigh. I think Ian's put an awful lot into studying, apart from Burns, other things, and I think he's most enjoyable to listen to.
Good, that's great. Yeah, there's certainly lots of stars attend that place, and they've all got their own
Yes.
interpretation of Burns and
That's right.
things that he did. Now I've heard you many times, Bill, over the years. We've heard you reciting Burns and reciting other poems as well. What would you say your favourite Burns poem is?
Epistle to Davy.
Without a doubt.
Oh, without a doubt.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my favourite Burns poem is definitely...
And of that poem, because I've heard you do that many times. In fact, if I'm asked what you would like to do, that's the one I love you doing. And I heard you down at Westminster
Yes,
when we went down there and you silenced 70 MPs
I did that.
because they sat there with
I
their
did
mouth
that.
open. That's right.
Mhm.
Listen to what you were saying.
Aye.
So of the poem, do you have a favourite verse in that poem?
It's hard to pick out a verse when you're thinking, but I think this life has joys for you and I, and joys that riches ne'er could buy, and joys the very best. There's all the pleasure o' the heart, the lover and the friend. You hear beg, your dearest pert, and I, my darling Jean. It warms me, it charms me, to mention but her name. It heats me and beats me, and sets me all in flame.
Great. Smashing, isn't it?
I think that's my
Beautiful.
favourite in Epistle to Davy.
I like the verse, you know, it's no in titles,
Oh,
nor
aye.
in rank. Maybe you could do that one for me, because
Yes.
that's lovely too.
It's no in titles nor in rank, it's no in wealth, like London Bank, to purchase peace and rest. It's no in mac and muckle beer, it's no in books, it's no in lear, to make us truly blessed. If happiness hae not her seat and centre in the breast, we may be wise, or rich, or great, but never can be blessed. Nae treasures nor pleasures could make us happy lang. The hairties of the pertie that marks us right or wrong.
Fantastic.
That's
fantastic.
great, that.
You've got other favourites as well. I mean, what are some of these other ones that you like?
What's that?
The other Burns poems that you do. I mean, you do Westland Winds, which is fantastic.
That's right. But Peggy dear, the evening's clear, thick flies the skimming swallow, the sky's blue, the fields in view, all fading green and yellow. Come, let us stray our gladsome way, and view the charms of nature, the rustling corn, the fruited thorn, and every happy creature. We'll gently walk and sweetly talk, till the silent moon shine clearly. I'll grasp thy waist and fondly pressed, swear how I love thee dearly. Not vernal showers to budding flowers, not autumn to the farmer, so dear can be as thou to me, my fair, my lovely charmer.
Well done, Willie, that was lovely again. One of your other favourites that you do quite a bit is the Soldier's Return, which has become very popular. Maybe a couple of verses from that, can you remember these?
Aye. When wild war's deadly blast was blown, and gentle peace returning, when many a sweet babe, fatherless, and many a widow mourning, I left the line's untented field, where long I'd been a lodger, my humble knapsack, all my wealth, a bare but honest sojourn. A little licht heart was in my breast, my hand unstained with plunder, and for fair Scotia hame again, I cheery on did wander. I thought upon the banks of Coyle, I thought upon my Nancy, I thought upon a witching smile that caught my youthful fancy. At length I reached the bonny glen, where early life I sported, and past mill and trysting thorn, where Nancy oft I courted. Who spied I but my ain sweet maid, down by her mother's dwelling, and turn me round the height of flood that in mine was swelling. With altered voice, quoth I, sweet lass, sweet as yon hawthorn's blossom. Oh, happy, happy may he be that's dearest to thy bosom. My purse is licht, I'll far to gang, and fain would be thy lodger. I've served my king and country lang, take pity on a sojourn. So wistfully she gazed on me, and lovelier was than ever. Quoth she, a sojourn gince I lood, forget him shall I never. Our humble court and hamely fare, you freely shall partake it. That gallant badge, the dear cockade, you're welcome for the sake of it. She gazed, she reddened like a rose, sign pale like ony lily. She sunk within my arms and cried, Art thou my ain dear Willie? By him who made yon sun and sky, by whom true love's regarded, I am the man, and thus may still true lovers be rewarded. The war's are o'er, and I'm come hame, and find thee still true-hearted, though poor and dear, we're rich in love, and mere we's near be parted. Quoth she, my grandsire left me gowd, a mailin plumaged fairly, and come my faithful sojourn lad, thou'rt welcome to it dearly. For gold the merchant ploughs the main, the farmer ploughs the manor, but glory is the soldier's prize, the soldier's wealth is honour. The brave fair soldier ne'er despise, nor count him as a stranger. Remember, he's his country's stay in day and hour of danger.
Well done, Willie, that was great again.
I think I do.
Of all the poems you've done, Willie, I've never heard you doing Holy Willie.
Oh no, I wouldn't do it.
You don't like Holy
I
Willie?
don't know. I mean, I ken the most of it.
Aye,
That's what I was asked for at London,
that's right.
but I wouldn't do it.
Because they were all Holy Willies down there, weren't they?
Eh?
They were all Holy Willies in
Aye,
Parliament.
so they were. Aye,
So you don't like doing it. You don't feel
no,
that it's you.
no, I think it's a personal prayer, and
Right, good.
And I don't like it. No,
You're too good to do it anyway.
But an awful lot of truths in it.
Yes, absolutely,
Oh, aye,
absolutely.
it's full of truths.
Of all the Burns poetry that we know, or that you know, what would you say is your favourite quotation? Do you have a favourite?
Aye. The end of winter.
You mentioned a bard's epitaph as well before that, about steering others, you know, when he runs his own wild career or something. Did you mention that?
Oh, in his epitaph.
Aye, yes. That's a bit that you like.
Is there a man whose judgment clear?
That's it.
Can others teach the course to steer, yet runs himself life's mad career, wild as the wave, here pause, and through the starting tear survey this grave. The poor inhabitant below was quick to learn and wise to know, and keenly felt the friendly glow and softer flame, but thoughtless follies laid him low and stained his name. Reader, attend, whether thy soul soars fancy's flight beyond the pole, or darkling grubs this earthly hole in low pursuit, know, prudent, cautious, self-control is wisdom's root.
Oh, that's lovely.
Absent from Burns all his life.
That's right. Well, that's my Bird's epitaph, which appeared in the first edition. So
It is.
he wrote that when he was
It's-
26, 27.
I did that.
You know, having
Aye.
said
It's the first poem in the Kilmarnock edition.
aye, it's in there anyway. But that's him as a 27-year-old reflecting like a much older man, you know, on his
Exactly.
life.
Mm-hmm.
Really good, really great. Who would you say, Willie? I mean, you're looked upon as being one of the best reciters we've ever had, right? You have spoken in hundreds of places, and you've always really impressed your audiences. Who, in your mind, would you say is maybe the best reciter you've heard in the past? You can't think of anybody who's been.
I can't think of
What about Immortal Memories? I mean, who would you say has put across?
Oh, I think Reverend Robert Patterson.
Well,
That's my favourite.
I think that's the one we recorded. I think
That's,
you know, that
that's
was
the one that you've got
super.
the CD.
40 minutes without a note, you know, and
Exactly.
fantastic.
Not a note.
Fantastic.
Nothing.
They spoke very well. But you can't think of any reciters? What about Tom Fleming? Did you like him? The guy that he died recently?
I'm not greatly.
He's a good voice.
I think he's a reader. He's
A
not
reader.
a reciter.
Right, right.
I think Tom Fleming reads all these. I don't
He's a good
I don't think he could recite one of them. But just that feeling
Yes.
about him.
But
I may be wrong, but trying to think.
well, I don't think there's anyone to beat Willie Morrison, I have to say. And I think I've got lots of my friends say exactly the same.
Pardon?
Lots of my friends say exactly the same. There's nobody like Willie Morrison.
Aye.
If you had the chance, Willie,
Well, I it's not for myself. It's for Burns.
It's for Burns.
I'm trying to interpret what Burns
Burns
intended
liked.
to say, and to get through to his readers.
Would you like to have met Burns? Would you like to have met Burns, to have sat with him?
Oh, I certainly would. I'd have been lost, I think, though.
How's that?
It was too far above me educationally.
He's a clever man. I mean, without
A
a
clever
doubt,
man.
clever man.
Underestimated, and he underestimated himself.
Yeah, that's right.
Mhm.
What would you ask him if he were there? What would you talk about?
I don't
Don't really
I
know.
would need to meet him.
Yeah,
To,
yeah.
I honestly couldn't say. I couldn't put my finger on anything at the moment. But I think the way he portrays nature,
Yeah, that's right.
the rustling corn, fruited
right,
thorn,
that's
and
right,
every happy
that's right.
creature.
That's right.
And when he comes down and he's talking as a fellow man to a wee moose,
That's right.
I think that's absolutely marvellous.
That's right.
I do that.
I think he would like your company as well, Willie, though.
I hope he would.
I think once you get going, and then you would tell some of these stories that you tell.
Aye.
Remind me, there's one or two you used to tell about Galston, the chap with his feet out the window.
Oh, aye.
And
Joe,
the mince.
Joe Cunnell, that one.
What was that one again?
Eh?
What was that one?
Well, Joe Cunnell, he wasn't very fond of work, but he got work in Muirkirk, and in the days there was big blast furnaces at Lugar, about 7 mile away, and Joe was in this wee attic in Muirkirk, and there was absolutely no heat in the attic at all. And he was sitting there and he was chittering and he was perished. And he heard the landlady coming up the stair. And he took off his bits and his socks. And by the time the landlady had come in, he had put up the wee window and he was sitting with his bare feet hanging out the window. She says, "What's wrong with you, Joe?" He says, "I'm heating my feet at the Lugar furnaces." Well, yesterday, when I was a boy anyway, and we had coal fires, and there was only thing flittering at the fire, you went for it and said, "That's a stranger coming." And Joe, there was something flittering at the fire this day, and Joe went for it. He says, "It'll be the butcher."
What was the one about the firewood? The guy with was it the priest or the minister? He was to get firewood or something. He was caught eating meat. It was the priest. He was caught eating.
Oh, aye, Jimmy Collins.
Yeah, what was that one?
Aye, Jimmy Collins was a Goston character. I loved to meet with Jimmy. A lot of folk would have done their laughter off of Jimmy, but I was awful sincere with Jimmy because I was sorry for him because he was definitely a wee bit retarded. But he got enough of good conversation with him, and he was sensible, and a lot of folk didn't even ken that. But Jimmy went with Hopkins the baker's biscuits and cakes and that, and he had a great big basket. I can see him yet, and he was leaning to the side. He was a wee bit kind of off the balance, and he went with this big basket round the doors, and he delivered Hopkins his caps and cabins, 2 biscuits that they were famous for, and they were the only ones in the whole of Scotland that made caps and cabins. So Jimmy went with this, but this has nothing to do with the story. In the days, Jimmy wouldn't be allowed to eat beef on a Friday, and here somebody was big Ken and went to Father Murphy, "Jimmy Collins was eating beef yesterday," which was Friday. So he went and he told Father Murphy, and Father Murphy says to James, he says, "It's been reported to me, James," he says, "that you ate beef on Friday." Now he says, "I've got to get a punishment for you, James." He says, "You take that barrow there," he says, "go down the Culnow," he says, "to the big sawmill, and bring me up a bar load of wood. Right, father, so we Jimmy goes over the bar, they come back up, and he knocks at my Father Murphy's door. He says, that's your barrel of wood, father. And Father Murphy and Tootin. He says, James, that's sawdust. He says, that's not wood. Jimmy says, sawdust, no wood. He says, mince is no beef, father.
So, it wasn't that daft.
No, no. Oh, it was of a... It was just a delightful wee fella to talk to.
And what about this other story that I've heard about, Willie? This one about the bag.
Oh,
What's that story?
aye. This was in 1962, and Anne had a notion, we had bought the shop, and we hadn't had a holiday for quite a few years, and we thought Anne thought we would go to Switzerland. So we're getting ready to go to Switzerland, and Anne discovers she's needing a bag. And it's up the stair. I could bring it down if you want to.
Sorry.
But it's all one. But she went down to McConkey's. That was, they sold leather goods. It's the shop was next to the All Empire Picture House in Kilmarnock. So Anne went and she got this bag, and in the days there wasn't so much fleeing. We had to go down on the train to Victoria Station and join the coach there, and then go across the channel, ferried across the channel and down by bus until we reached Switzerland. So that was it. And Anne was saying, she says, we'll need to think on getting something for to take home, Ken, wee presents and that. So we went down the street in Montreux, it was. And we went down the street, and all the rage at that time was the wee musical chalets. They were in wee cardboard boxes. You lifted the wee lid and it played a beautiful tune. So we bought 7 of these, and we could back up to the hotel, and it was the only 2 Scots people on that trip. And all the English folk were saying, I joke, when you get to the customs it'll cost you a penny or 2. I says, well, it just have to cost us a penny or 2. So eventually we come to the customs and went up, and it was just a table then. There was 2 green doors and red doors, and you had to lay out your stuff, and it would ask you if you had anything to declare, anything that was dutiable. And I said to him, says I, see that bag, say, right in the top of it, say, we've got the musical chalets. So he started to open the bag. There was a wee metal clip held the top of the bag down, and my father was leaving at the time, and the first thing he got was a box of cigars, a wooden box of cigars. He says, how many cigars in that box? I says, I think there's 14, but I'm not certain. So he went into his pocket and he took out a pen knife, and he opened the pen knife and he prised up. There was a wee sprig holding the lid down. He opened this up and he says, by the way, he says, where did you get the bag? I says, we'll go to Scotland. He says, what part of Scotland do you come from? I says, Ayrshire. He says, Ardrossan. I says, no, inland. He says, Mauchline. I says, no, Goston. I was staying in Gunnymols for 10 years at that time. So I Goston. He says, the rising sun near Goston wears, you never got another word out. I says, well, glorious, like was glinting, the hares were harping down the firth, the lavrocks, they were chanting. He says, full sweet that day. Put 3 crosses, because that's what they had, chalk, in the days, and he put 3 crosses in their cases through the customs, back onto the bus, and all the English folk were sitting, some of them had got a coat, and I says, "Si, you've got Shakespeare, Si, you haven't got a burn that gets you through the customs." Oh, they did the like
I'm
it.
sure.
But
I'm sure. That's a great story, Willie.
Eh?
That's a great story. That's
Billy Kay liked that.
Uh-huh.
Billy Kay uses that in programmes yet.
Does he?
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. Good. Now we've mentioned Burns. We've talked all about Burns, but you've got a repertoire of other poems that you do a lot. You know, I've heard you doing Rab the Miller and a Burns
My favourite.
anniversary and things like that. You want to do one or two for us just now?
Oh, aye. And the first one that I would like to say is the one my mother never knew any poetry except the 5 shilling fee, because my mother was at service when she was a lassie. She left the school when she was 11 years old because they had to take money for their books, and the doctors' children and any other ones that were well off, they got their books first, and my mother had paid for her books and she didn't get them. So she challenged the headmaster, and he said, "Oh," he says, "your book's coming, you'll get it all right." And she lifted a slate, and in those days there wasn't, when I was at school, you had a border round it of wood, but in the days of my mother at the school, it was just a slate, and she just threw it at him, and it got him just in there, about half an inch, I reckon, lower, and they would have been killed. And she went out the door at 11 years of age and never went back to school. And that was one of the things she taught me. And it was called the 5 shilling fee because they were hard times. So this is it by James Hislop. The 5 shilling fee. My mother was wee, for my father was dead, and they threatened to take the old house o'er her head. Her earnings were small, and the meal it grew dear. I was the eldest of 5, and could whiles see the tear glisten bright in her ee as she came hame at e'en, half hid, as it didn't just want to be seen. I spak na a word, but my heart it would ache, and I wished I were big for my poor mother's sake. The farmers around wanted herds for the kye, and my mother said she had yin that would try. I mind who it trembled, half in fear, half in joy, when a farmer called in, just to look at the boy. He bid me stand up, for he thought I was wee, but my blithe, honest face, he said, please it is he. He'd tap me and try me a 6 month and see, for a pair of new shin and a 5 shilling fee. We were glad to hear tell it, a bargain was struck, and he gave me a 6pence o' earls for luck. My trousers and jacket were patched for the knee, and my mother convoyed me a long mile away, with charges and warnings against all sorts of crime, and rose she lay down. I thought hard at the time, gin the kye should run wrong, I was never to leave, though they sent me a wall without shin or my fee. So I set to my work, and I pleased it right wheel. At a wave of the horn, I was off like a mule. But my troubles come on, for the fences were bad, and the midsummer flea got the kye all run mad, and the cold, blashy weather sair drenched me with rain. Whiles wee thoughts of leaving would steal through my brain, but with courage I dashed aye the tear from my ee when I thought of my shin and my 5 shilling fee. Sign Martinmas brocht me lang out for store, and proudly I counted it 20 times more. Some years have now passed in a fortunate train, but I never have felt such rapture again. Not the sailor through the wild breakers steered, not Waterloo's victor when Blucher appeared, e'er felt what I felt when I placed in the knee o' a fond-hearted mother my 5 shilling fee.
Lovely, Willie. It brings a tear to the eye, it really does. That's
Eh?
a it brings a tear to the eye, it's a
Oh,
lovely
aye.
poem. Beautiful.
Aye.
What about some of the other ones that you do as well? There's the one, what's that one about the chap in bed with his wife? What's that? With the cold behind.
Oh, aye.
What's that one?
The early bedding husband.
Aye.
I don't know who wrote that. Or maybe who claimed it, I suppose. The early bedding husband. Snug in your bed a winter's night, for storm and blast your habit dicht. You count a few elusive sheep, and then fall soonly off to sleep. Then suddenly your dreams are shattered, your random thoughts are rudely scattered. The wife crawls in, fatigued, cold as if she was something dead, with frozen feet and legs and knees, like some great fish fae polar seas, and what I don't name in verse, worse to the lot are frozen behind. Then, just to show her fond affection, she wriggles out in your direction, and plants that icy, muckle hammock right in the middle of your stomach, with anguish gasp and indrawn breath. You slink for the icy touch of death. Still she wriggles till she's captured the warm place where you lay enraptured. Now, though you ken your heat will perish, you promised aye to love and cherish. So do your duty in style superior, and fill out the lass's cold posterior, and thank the Lord, by common law, you only have one wife to thaw.
Great, superb, superb. You also do a lot of cocker.
Aye.
Rab the Miller is one of my
Rab the
favourites.
Miller. Aye. Rab the Miller. This is W.D. Cocker, William Dixon Cocker, to give the man his full title. William Dixon Cocker, Rab the Miller. A big braw man was Rab the Miller. Not what you call a lady killer, or blake for that. A wise-like chill, the electric his meat and wheel, struck back it, strang as would he stuck. I will put on when gone to kirk, for of the kirk he was a pillar. A wheeldain chap was Rab the Miller. He had nae wife which wasna queer. The beard man had nae spunk to spear, but aye, he wooed and reverenced women, and thought them something mair than human. Angels sent down to man's assistance, but aye, she worshipped for a distance. Till youth awo his prime nigh past, fate gart him to the loop at last. A gale farrant, cranky carlin, keepeth his hoose, yin Kate McFarlane, near old enough to be his granny. She used to flight on the pair manny. She was a kind of family relic, Rab kent that she was no angelic, and yet her worth he'd ne'er disparage, and when she died, he thought of marriage. But when the lassie he would choose, folk couldna just at first jalouse. Rab pondered lang upon the brink, would scart his pow, and think, until ye Sabbath in the choir, he glowered at big Jean McIntyre. Conviction in his heart took root. He thought, aye, she would do nae doot. Some youthful memories canna wither. There had been bairns at school together. I knew she dwelt a lonely woman, nae angel either, just gay human, the sort that bide in button bains and keep a coo and torry hens, forby she'd a wee date siller. That's I help think Rab the muller. But who to spear in him sae blade? Man, he was feared to gang that gate. He pondered lang upon the question, the thought it gied him indigestion. Gied him a stall at brose and porridge, ye nicht. A dram gied him the courage, and while the spirit in him glowed, he toashed himself and took the road. It was a winter night. The min shone clearly in the lift of bin, and Cranrach poured to the grun. He heard the curlers at their fun, a mile awo, and clear enough. He heard ice crackling in the shach. He heard his own heart wildly slapping. He heard himself at Jean's door chapping. Jean was na often fast with men. She took him in and brought him ben. A wee thing puzzled at the core. Rab gave his neb a dicht and blow, speared for the coo and all the hens, and crack it about odds and ends. But conversation shouldn't run dry. Jean answered no, but no, or aye. An hour or two, Rab sat there sweetin', oh drink, forces thy strength and cheating. The dram's fine exultation left him, and blankness new, a speech bereft him. Well, Jean, fair buddy, sat and granted, and what wanted. The note sharp 10. Aye, some siller, I'm been enough, said Rab the muller. That was a gay queer observation, thought Jean, but Rab's a botheration. There's something in it, gnawer gleg enough to tak the hint. Jean said, Rab said, you'll maybe think I'm wrong, but women shouldn't aye be thrang, and cleaning out a clarty buyer is no for you, Jean McIntyre. Alas, poor Jean, fate's wiser rach, lang syne ye have been gleg enough. In dreams ye haven't got hinted, the dream is here, ye see nae hinted. Phone's comprehension let the in, o sonsy, hard-rocked, luckless Jean. I ken fine what you left her now. Speak plain, you want to buy my coo. Poor Rab, the dice against him loaded, dumbfoundered and abashed, just knowed it, and lest he should the compact rue, Jean there and then brocht out the coo. A price was fixed, with inward groan, Rab booked it, hemward down the lawn. He led the beast with halter steering, and like a drunken tinkler swearing, and sat he tail in black later. He yoke it on the hairless crater. It's Hardies with stuff will scalp it, as though the poor beast could help it. Our hull and hoch, they heard it bellow, till shame at last come on the fella. He muttered as he reached the mull, "Oh, Rab, you fill, you muckle fill." Alas, the tail of that old coo, gaed heich and leich the parish through. Peer Rab, who etel to get wed, and bocht an Ayrshire coo instead, raised money a laugh, whore farmers gathered, whore ploughman o'er a wee hof blethered. Now Rab the mullers to a scanner at matrimony. Dude, nae winner.
That was superb, Willie. I think that's one of Cocker's better poems. You know,
Oh, I think it is.
he wrote a lot, but that's certainly good, and I like hearing it from you.
I like the deluge take.
Yes, I know
It's
that
good.
one.
I mean, it's marvellous. And there was a wee fella, he come from through the east, and he used to recite the deluge. And he was talking to me, ken who he finishes up with the deluge till the ark, when the flood had get over, come down to the top of the bend, and the rivers round back to the seas, and the seas
Settled down the were calm,
calm.
and Noah replenished the earth.
But they're saying it in a
Like a
good
dram.
And this wee fella told me, it says, you look at Genesis, I think it's chapter 19 or something like that, and that, he was the first one that was caught drunk in the Bible.
Is that right?
Noah.
Great poem anyway. Willie, we've been talking here for a wee while. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege yet again. Could we finish off with a wee poem that I know is a favourite of yours, a Burns anniversary that you do?
Well, Burns anniversary.
That's a good one, because that says a lot about Burns in a very short...
This is a man called John Brown that wrote this, and he published his book in 1883. I'll never forget 1883, because it was the year my parents were born. My father was born in June and my mother in October of 1883. But this man published this book, and his name was John Brown, and he was an elder in Queen's Park Church in Glasgow, and he dedicated his book to the minister at that time of Queen's Park Church. And this is the very first poem in it. The rest are all quite local. He would know what he was talking about, but the one Burns anniversary is really a gem. Burns anniversary by John Brown. When birds are mute and woods are bare, and January winds are whistling dreary, contentment, peace, and hamely fare, with breeze and ingle, keeps us cheery. To court my muse while drifting snow patters on the window losing, or o'er the catgawk draw the bow when finger ends are nearly frozen. Instinctively my memory turns to genius and misfortune blended in the brief checkered life of Burns, with brilliant hopes so early ended. O son of song, all Scotland's bard, in pathos sweet or Doric canter, with fond remembrance and regard, who can forget thy tam o'shanter, the banks and breeze of bonny Doon, thy bonny Jean, and Highland Mary, the Duke of Furlong through the Doon, the soldier waiting at the ferry, the bonny breeze of Balloch Mile, Fair Mary's Droom by Afton Water. The roving lad was born in Kyle. The jolly beggars, sands and clatter. The wife a wife that Willie had, whose nose and chin they threatened her. There's nothing said about her dad, but Tinkler Madgie with her mother, the bonny lass that made the bed. John Anderson with head so holy, the Scots who he with Wallace bled, and wham the Bruce led on to glory. And then the meeting of the three, who little care the day was dawning, when some we'll taste the worldly brie, regardless though the coat was crowing. Old Halloween, the Holy Fair, and Captain Grose's queer night knackets, the Twodogs and their logic rare with coquet lugs and Tuesday jackets, and Hornbook with country's fame, who kenned the cure of all diseases, a bonny lass to hide her shame. He quietly o' her life releases, the old Hall Bible in the court, the mishap to the mountain daisy, the moosey day is no forgot, will lure enough would make yen crazy. But now my muse is at an end. It may return with summer weather, when bird and bee their music blend, man flurry woods and blooming heather. As year by year this day returns, we meet not here as Whig or Tory, but to respect the birth of Burns, the bard of song, old Scotland's glory.
Well done, Willie. That was really lovely. That was great stuff.
Well, we don't apologise for letting Willie tell the same story twice, but I'm sure you enjoyed many of his other stories in that interview, and especially some of the recitations that aren't necessarily from Burns, but very often are about Burns, such as the Burns anniversary, which I know you particularly like, Jim.
Yes, that was the first person I ever heard doing it. In fact, it wasn't until very recently that I heard somebody else doing it. I think one of the Middletons now does it. I don't know whether it's Angus or his brother, I can't remember. But it became more or less known through Willie. But I've heard it done with two or three other reciters, but Willie was just a genius at it.
Yeah, and some of the other stories are great as well, but you've seen the videos now, and I'm sure you enjoyed them. And can I just say that if anyone else has any archive material that they think we might be able to broadcast, you could perhaps get in touch with us. But in the meantime, we hope you enjoyed listening to Willie Morrison telling us about his life with Robert Burns. Thank you.